am Darrell Parrish Bakeman from the great state of Arizona, the city of Tucson, and Pima County. And most importantly, I live in Legislative District 17. And I come to you today because we are showing people what we're doing here that's going to make a difference to turn Arizona blue. And today I have two people that are integral in terms of making sure that that happens. They happen to be team leads in our legislative district. They are Elizabeth Packard. Hello, Elizabeth. And Beth Smith. They work together in Legislative District 17 in Oro Valley with me. And I have them here today because they have been more successful than anybody else in our legislative district. I know some people might not want to hear that, but the facts bear out. They have more volunteers working in their team in Oro Valley South than any of our other TLs. And because of that, I wanted to talk with them so that you can understand some of the things that they're doing that might be beneficial to you if you're working in the field and organizing. And it also should be beneficial to anybody that's not directly involved in the political process, because hopefully we can encourage you to become volunteers. So welcome, Elizabeth and Beth.
Hello, Darrell. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm just delighted that you were able to take time today because I know how busy you are. In fact, I know that, Beth, you just came in from canvassing. This tells you a little bit about this woman. She's always involved in doing something to help this election. And we're going to talk about the canvas piece. But first, I'd like to know, what does a TL do? We'll start with you, Elizabeth. What is that all about?
Well, it stands for either team lead or territory lead. And a territory is a number of precincts, usually 5 or 6, that are contiguous in a district. And that means that you're in sort of a neighborhood of people. So the territories were set up to break down the formality of a legislative district meeting with 100 people or so that people had an opportunity to meet with, 15, 20, 30 of their neighbors and friends, and be able to take care of working for the mission.
That's wonderful. And how would you express that, Beth? Any differently than Elizabeth?
No, not really. I think the whole concept of breaking up a territory or breaking up Legislative 17 into territories contiguous and commonality and common interests. Even though our legislative district spreads from sea to shining sea,
Yeah.
we are able to sort of get our hands around the 5 or 6 precincts we have and get people to feel comfortable because, as Elizabeth says, we're basically saying we're your neighbors.
That's a beautiful thing. That's the best way to start. We are your neighbors. It's not just anybody knocking on your door. It's your neighbors knocking on your door. So I'd like to know, what is it? How do you organize to be able to do the work that you've been given to do?
Can I say this?
Sure. What?
I said to Elizabeth, how do you organize, Elizabeth, for us to get this work done?
It's easy if you have great volunteers.
So that's the key.
Yeah. The interesting thing about us is we complement each other. Okay. Elizabeth is great at the big picture. She sees it all. She tries to break it down into small pieces, and then I grab those small pieces and I sort of run with it. But Elizabeth definitely keeps me on track and keeps everybody on track. And
yes, I know that to be true about her. So Elizabeth, what's the big picture of how you've organized as a team lead in LD17 and specifically Oro Valley South?
The main difference between what we have been doing for the last 2 years and some other territories is that we have monthly meetings. And we started off with monthly meetings of 10 or 12. And we often now have 30 or 40. And the reason that that is, I think, central to success is that being a volunteer is more than the mission. You also, most people who are volunteers look forward to making new friends and doing things with those friends. And sometimes the things you're doing are not maybe the most exciting thing, like canvassing, although I enjoy it and many people do. But you have an opportunity to spend time with people, to get to know them and work together. And we have developed, actually, our volunteers developed a mentoring program. So, I mean,
love this. I love this.
It's taking care of people. And so recognizing that most people want to know people's names and they want to be accepted and respected and thanked. And sometimes with volunteers, there are people who have not done a lot of work with volunteers, but have been, say, project managers or, CEOs. But it's a different relationship when you're working with a volunteer.
So I love this, and I want to get to the heart of this, which is the people, the volunteers, and how you organize them. But you used the word that I want to go back to, and that's the mission. What is the mission that you two have set forth for the work that you're doing? What are you trying to accomplish?
Beth, you want to speak to that?
I guess the overall mission that we have as team leaders is that we our mission is to find people, engage them, mentor them, and make them so that they are really capable of going out and doing what we need to be done, and that is getting people to understand what is going on in our state, what's going on in our country, what's going on in our legislative district, and want to help and work with us.
So what you're telling me is you go out and get volunteers to work your mission in our legislative district. The people that you get, you're asking them to be volunteers. Come join with us to work with us as a volunteer. Is that correct?
Yes, because originally we were knocking on doors just to say, hey, are you registered? Are you a registered voter? Hey, let's give you some literature about our candidates. Hey, we're having, we're going to have a house party. We'd like to invite you. But now we've developed, we realize that if we're knocking on doors and we have friendly people who greet us and they say, oh my God, thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah.
We are able to say, hey, how would you like to help us?
I love this. So what you're telling me is your goal is to get volunteers. And originally the goal was just to knock on doors and pass out literature, but you've grown far beyond that, because everybody always says, oh, we got to do face-to-face canvas. We got to knock on doors, but door knocking has a bigger purpose when you're organizing volunteers. And that's the main reason that I wanted to talk with the two of you, because you are masters of organizing. And one of the things that we find in the political process that's not happening is we're not engaging the voter enough in the process of voting. And that's why I wanted to talk with the two of you, because you figured out the magic. You figured out that the goal is not just the door knocks, but engaging volunteers in the process. So now that we've talked about that and I've kind of clarified it a little, I want you to tell us how you do it. Because in this legislative district, you have more volunteers than any of the other TLs. So there is some magic to what you're doing. I'd like you to talk about that.
You want to start, Elizabeth?
Yes, well, and I'm going to go back briefly to the mission, because to me, what many people talk about is saving democracy. Kind of a sub-mission of that most recently has been getting the petition to protect women's reproductive rights signed with enough signatures to put it on the ballot.
So what you're saying, Elizabeth, is that the AAA petition that the state is engaged in getting signatures for is helping to inspire people to be engaged this year. Is that true?
That's correct. People are responding. Well, with, as Beth said, getting more volunteers is critical to accomplishing the mission. But this particular mission with the petition has been very engaging. Lots and lots of people have said, yes, I want to be part of this. This mission to make reproductive rights put it on the ballot so people can vote on it. And so that has the mission is several things, but by doing that with people who are engaged in the same concerns that you are, and meeting together and working together. This is not a project for people who are sitting in a corner. It's for people who want to get together and do things.
So I want to talk about this a little because Elizabeth, I've known you for a while. In fact, I have to admit, this is just, I have to go on the record. I'm only involved in politics in Arizona because of Elizabeth. We met up doing something politically and bonded. And one of the things I know about her is she's a very capable, unique organizer. And she's serious about any job that she undertakes. And when we first started, and the reason I'm bringing that up, Elizabeth, is because I've watched you work. You started doing something that I don't think many volunteers who are working in the ground game process really realized that you were doing. You know, in some places we use language and it means one thing to one group of people and one thing to the other. And one of the words that I'm going to mention is house parties. In Arizona, a house party means that you're having a fundraising event at your home. But what you have done is to take that concept of bringing people together in your home to organize those people and keeping them coming to your home so that they maintain involvement in the political process. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is when we first got involved, you were giving people information about what was going on. You were introducing them to candidates that were running for office. And this year, you said the mission has grown because this year we have a bigger purpose in mind because of the AAA petition that's going on. So things continue to grow from your involvement. And I'd like you to speak to that because you've taken what you've done in the past, having people come to your home. I'm calling them house parties. I don't care what everybody else calls.
That's what we call them. We call
That's
them
That's
house
what we
parties.
call.
Coming to my house and having a good time. And no, you don't have to pay money to walk through the door. We just get you to come in and we give you something. We give you information. And after we give you information, then you are more inclined to say, oh yeah, I think I will be a volunteer. You even tell them, you train them and tell them what being a volunteer is. And we're going to go to that in a minute. But I wanted to bring that out because you brought up the mission for this year, because it's broadened. When we first started doing this, we were just hyping candidates, but now we're doing more. We're giving people a reason to be involved. And the reason is that our rights and democracy are on the ballot now. And so we have to get people engaged in the political process so that we can win in November. We'll get our petition not only on the ballot, but get people to vote so that women will have the rights to decide what happens with their bodies. So this gives us even more of a purpose this time. Don't you agree?
I do.
So tell me this, given all the door knocking and the organizing, we're going to talk about how you organize volunteers in a minute. I'd like to get some words from the street. What are you learning now that you're out here knocking on doors? Give me some of the things you're hearing from some of the people that you're approaching as you engage them.
Okay, maybe Beth would like to address that.
Yeah, I mean, as horrible as the reversal of Roe versus Wade, it is the biggest opportunity for us in LD17 to awaken people, to get them to know who we are, to want to be more involved. And what I'm finding now is, I mean, we've been at this since 2017, you know, for every candidacy, for everything. We've been knocking and banging and knocking and talking. And, everybody in my neighborhood sort of knows me. But the thing now is I feel the most important thing right now is I'm talking to people and they're all excited about signing the petition. My question to them is, do you have any idea what's going on in our state legislature? And we have Democrats who were born Democrats and have lived in the state for a really long time, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
None. And they look to us to provide that information and to let them know, this is what's going on. These are the candidates. We're having a house party and at the end of April. And as I was canvassing, everybody was asking, hey, here's an opportunity to meet our candidates. We're asking for a small donation because obviously we have to support these candidates. Because I'm tired of telling people they're off the hook. You know what I mean? I think people need to be on the hook a little.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when people say to me, oh my God, this is incredible, you're terrific, I just can't believe what you do, my response is, and you could do something as well. You don't have to knock on doors. You don't have to do everything that I'm doing and my team. I just need a little support. And that could be financial support, or come to a party, or tell your friends about what's going on. So, that's what I'm good at.
So I remember you the first time I met you at a house party that was not only a candidate was there asking for money, but making a presentation so that the people at the party would get to know the person. And you, I'm going to use the terminology, hit on everybody there to ask them to be able to get involved and come door knock with you. And you said, I'll train you, I'll help you. Beth, you are the master door knocker. And
Can I I came up with this slogan, at the when Arizona List had their the big celebration to
right,
celebrate 50 years and honor us. And I met Kamala Harris's sister, Maya Harris, I think her name was.
yes.
And she was asking about this, and she said, well, how do people feel though when you ask them to volunteer and do something they haven't done before? And I said, I tell them they will never fly alone if they work with us. And I realized that's exactly what we do. You will never fly alone. We will always have you beside us until you're ready to jump out of the nest.
So it sounds like what you're saying is join with me and we'll be together. So together we're working together on something to accomplish something. And something Elizabeth said, we engage them. We get them to participate. We get them to be a part of what we're doing. And you start with what Elizabeth, who's the visionary for this, does. Hey, come over to my house. Let me tell you about what's going on. And then when they get there, she gives them so much information and turns them over to a Beth, who then says, oh, you should come and knock on doors with me. The next thing you know, you have what? Volunteers.
We have an army. And it's really interesting. I guess about a month ago, we decided that people keep giving us the name of volunteers and giving us information. And it was very unwieldy. We were having a hard time managing it. And we came up with the idea of, why don't we have a mentoring group? And we asked for volunteers at one of one of our meetings. We said, who would like to, be a mentor? We got 5 people. We then had a meeting and we said, how do we want to do this? What's the process? And now we're finding, because people are also knocking on doors, getting more volunteers, meeting them at the library where people are signing petitions, meeting them where, at church, and we now put them in the database and we send them over to the mentoring team. And
That's
then
wonderful.
we have, then they know what they're doing and they come to a meeting and we assign them to someone to go with them, and we're moving right along.
So I want to talk now. I know when Elizabeth told me, I think we're going to have a mentoring program. So Elizabeth, the visionary, let's talk about your vision for this mentoring program that you now have that is operational. How did you get this mentoring program started?
Well, everything starts. One of Beth's great virtues is she is not afraid to make the ask, And I think that is something that needs to be really underscored, because if you don't ask, nothing's going to happen. You know, people are sometimes shy or fearful they're being pushy or something. But the people that we've asked, and particularly Beth has asked, have, you know, said, absolutely, you know, I want to try this, or certainly I will see what happens. So making the ask is vital. The program was actually developed by our volunteers. Wasn't that right, Beth? That
Yeah,
they
well,
did
we all,
most of the
Elizabeth and
organization?
I got together with about 5 volunteers. For me, Elizabeth, again, Elizabeth has, she likes to get everything written down, get all the details, get everything else she can think of to put on a piece of paper. And for me, I'm like, I think we need to do this, this, and this. And then we sort of fight it out. She'll give me 4 paragraphs. I'm like, yeah, we got it. And then we sit down with our volunteer, you know, with this group, and we said, you know, this is what we're trying to accomplish. For me, the most important thing was we get people who say, yes, I'd like to help. And we call them volunteers. And then we put them on our mailing list. And then we put them on our contact sheet. And then we contact them. And they don't get back to us. And then we have to go back in, and they're not volunteers anymore. So what I said is we have to separate the wheat from the chaff. When people say this person wants to help, they want to volunteer, and we try to get a volunteer form. The mentoring group, even if they say they don't want to petition it, and my feeling was that a volunteer is somebody who wants to petition, because this is so critical. I didn't want people who said they want a postcard or they want a text, but after a while we realized we shouldn't throw them all out.
Yeah.
But we give them to the mentoring group and say, look, they said they want a postcard, they don't want a canvas, they don't want to do this. Talk to them. Tell them how exciting this all is. Tell them all the things that we were doing. And you know what keeps happening? More people say, I could try to canvas. I could try to go out with a petition. So we're getting people who never thought they can do anything simply because we told them they can. And we told them that we're there and how much fun they're going to have and what a great group of people we are. Right?
So let me just say this, it's not just the telling that you do, it's actually the action that occurs, because you start with the fun. And I want to talk to Elizabeth about that, because Elizabeth opens her home to people, and people bring food and drink wine or sodas and have fun at the meeting, and that helps to inspire them to want to participate. Let's talk about the fun, Elizabeth. Talk about some of the fun we've been having at your home as you organize people around getting engaged in the political process.
Well, it's simple. What's fun? Being with people you like is fun. Eating and drinking is fun. And so I was just talking with someone today about the difference between Zoom meetings and in-person meetings. And they were saying, yeah, then you get to do all this stuff together.
Yes.
And so I think bringing people together, giving them an opportunity, we usually try to have an opportunity to go around and see how people are doing and what's, you know, the most important thing that's going on and so on, so that they get a chance to share and know each other. But by having activities where they need to work together, you don't need to work together when you're postcarding, but you do when you're at a petition table or you're at canvassing, knocking on doors. And it's the friendships and the community, the sense of community that I think people have when they have worked together a while. They feel like they can say what they want to say, they can think what they want to think, do as much as they can, and that seems to build community.
I want to say this, the reason you have so many volunteers in South Oro Valley is because you have created a community. And that's why I wanted to talk with the two of you, because it's not just one element, knocking on doors, sending out postcards, making phone calls. It's engaging people in the political process. And this year is so critical because we have a national election. We have to flip the state houses here because we have to give our Democratic governor a legislature that she can vote, that will help her to push the laws that need to be voted upon. And we cannot leave her without having what she needs. We also need to send people to Congress who vote our interests, not the interest of one particular party, but the interest of the people, not the party. So this is such a critical year. And are there any things that you are hearing or learning that you want people to know about this election, about any of the candidates, and about why this year is so very important?
I think before we didn't have much to compare to, but this year with Juan Ciscomani, it's evident what we have up, what we have in Congress with Justine Watsack and some of the other Republican state legislatures. I mean, it's so evident.
Because right now, it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people understand this. We've talked about how important the AAA petition has been in terms of the knocking on doors and giving people information and getting people involved. But, and now we have two candidates that we're pushing their candidacy because we want them to be in the House and the Senate in our state. But once that happens, when we have our Democratic convention in August, we'll shift the focus to the national election, and we'll be focusing more on our congressional district, which is 6, and also our presidential and vice presidential candidates, because then it will be official who is running on the Democratic ticket. So it's almost it's like if you haven't organized already, it's almost too late, or you're kind of behind the pack, because you need the volunteers in place to be able to support the ground game work that has to be done. And this is another reason why I'm celebrating Elizabeth and Beth today, because that's what they've been doing. They've been organizing their team of people to work. And now that they have volunteers, they have a process in place, and they can even get more volunteers as they continue to use this process. Because you have monthly meetings, is that right? Or do you have them more than one? So once a month, that's another opportunity to bring people together and get them engaged in what you're doing. And right now we're focusing on Kevin Volk, who's running for the House of Representatives in Arizona. And the other candidate is
John McLean.
McLean.
He's kind of new to the table. He's just got on the ballot recently. And I think everybody got enough signatures, so they're doing the work that has to be done. So we know now that they are the candidates that we'll be supporting for the Senate and the House. And LD17 is pretty pivotal. It's been identified as the legislative district that we can flip so that we can have control of both the House and the Senate. Do you guys want to speak to any of that, or you're just good saying that?
I think now, we've gone from House parties team meetings to House parties fundraising.
Okay.
And I think, this was a transition that was a little tough for our volunteers. And we just had a meeting recently, and we sent out an email about this is when you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be able to say to your friends and to other people, we really need your help. We need you to donate. And it may be scary. People don't like to ask anybody for money. They don't like to ask their friends for money. I was a financial advisor. All I did was ask people for their money.
That's why you're so good at what you do, Beth.
Yes.
And the thing is, we just said, think about it. Think about what we do. How much time and energy have we all spent? And we're just asking for a small donation to change the face of our state and our country. And we need you to step up and make the ask. And we'll be doing more training. We'll continue. We do role playing at our meetings, and people at first they're so hesitant that they're going to be embarrassed, and I can do the right thing. And after 15 minutes, it's a joy to watch people asking their friends for money.
I love it. You guys could write a book. You have a mission of what you're, as a team lead, you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get volunteers. You came up with a mission for how you're going to do it and an approach to how you can get volunteers. As a result of that approach, you've been working the approach. You've been having monthly meetings, getting more people involved, using the mission of the AAA petitions to get them engaged in the political process so that now they're a part of your team, and your team is going out and knocking on doors, introducing the two candidates to them and to the electorate so they know who they are. And now you're even getting them to come and help to support these candidates in a fundraising event. This shows you how this organizing of volunteers and people is so integral to the success of any ground game. And this is why I wanted the two of you here today. So I know you're having a fundraising event. When is it?
April 28th at Elizabeth's.
Mhm.
Okay, and what we'll do, Elizabeth, we'll put a link with the QR code so that people can go to the Act Blue petition, Act Blue site, and if they want to come to your event, they'll be able to sign up based on what we put at the end of this particular presentation. So I'm telling you that in advance. So it's the 28th of April, and we're not giving the address. You only get to come if you're registered. And are you asking for a minimum amount, or you're just asking people to give?
We're asking for a minimum of $50.
Okay, that
We're
tells
not
you.
asking $50 per candidate. We're just asking for a minimum of $50.
And this
Now,
money, is it going directly to your,
to the candidates.
to the candidates? That's good.
For the campaign.
To the
To
campaign.
the campaign. Now, here's the thing. We would love to have a gazillion people come to this house party, but we can only accommodate a certain amount. So if you want to say in the link that there'll be a cutoff, but we will be
Yeah.
having another house party in May. I already have a venue.
Okay,
I have a date, Elizabeth.
okay, we'll do
And
that.
can I say we have the address, because we originally weren't going to do a link to Act Blue. So we put my address on and so the address is on the invitation. And I am limited to 30 to 35 people. And so I have not been looking to put it on Mobilize or anything like that, because then we can't control it.
So
We
one of the
didn't, we
things,
didn't,
yeah, I think
I
think that you'll be able to control it because they have to RSVP, and once they get to the limit, then you'll have to say it's closed, because that's the way all of the
Right.
fundraisers
Right.
kind of
And
go
we
these
can give
days.
them another date.
That's right.
I
Yes.
think our biggest problem is having too many people.
I love that problem. I love that problem.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good problem to have. And we'll make sure that people are aware of this. But the thing we're getting over here is this is how you get people engaged in the political process. It's not just door knocking. It's not just door knocking. And those people that are just trying to get volunteers to knock on doors do not have the success rate of Elizabeth and Beth. And that's why I wanted the two of you to come today and share your story and the successes that you're having. So hopefully we'll get more people to get involved in the political process. You're going to have people wanting to just come and work with the two of you, but we're going to see if we can't get more of the TLs, even the ones who are in another legislative district, to maybe look at this particular organizational process that you're doing and seeing if they can't learn from it. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end this?
Yes, I think Elizabeth and I have been incredibly fortunate to be partners. And I think that's an issue with a lot of the other territories, is that they don't have the partnership that we have. And I know I couldn't do it on my own. I think Elizabeth could probably do it before she is committed. But I think the fact that we have each other is what's really made this successful.
I agree with that, because one of the things I know for sure is that politics is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. Candidates don't win without having a team, and the ground game doesn't operate without being a part of a big team. And you two are fabulous team members. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close? Then I'm just going to
Just
say,
remember to have fun.
oh,
The
yeah.
importance of fun.
It's-
Sometimes it gets lost, and we all lose it because we're got all these issues.
Yeah.
So redirect back. Is this fun? Am I enjoying myself? Are my friends here enjoying that? That's critical.
Thank
Yeah,
you
and-
so much.
Yeah, and I was just going to say one more thing, that it is, everybody has support. Like when it's starting to look really dark and we don't know if it's, there are times that I just don't know if I keep going on.
Mhm.
And we have, I'll get a hold of Elizabeth and she'll say, yeah, you're right. This is where we are. We can do this. This is what's going to happen. I have another thing. I have started going out with some of our volunteers, like for breakfast or for lunch, just to get to know them a little bit. And I know Elizabeth has people over at her house, a lot of our volunteers. So we're seeing them more than just on a monthly basis. And we're trying to, and when I meet someone, I say, can we have a drink and you can bring a friend with you? That seems to be another thing, that, or have a coffee or have lunch and bring a friend with you. And I think that's what we're trying to get our volunteers to do, is just keep on keeping.
Thank you so much for that. Keep on keeping and bring
Very
people together and get them involved in the political process and have fun. Ladies, I know one thing. Whenever I'm around you, I have fun. I have a great time. And thank you for including me in your meetings and the things that you're doing. I'm here for you as you are here for me. And I look forward to your successful upcoming fundraising events and continued work in LD17 and success in November for all the Democratic candidates up and down the ballot. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thank you.
All right.
And you have a wonderful rest of the day.